And welcome into the First Bank Coaches Show. Ray Pack and Coach Drew Stutts, head basketball coach of the men's program here at Freed-Hardeman. Well, Coach, it's been a while since you and I have been able to sit down. We had our last coaches show, I think it was December the 7th, and then we went on Christmas break, and you've played, I think it was 6 or 7 games since the last time we sat. We're not going to go into detail on all those games, but we can focus on the last 2 that were on the road at Cumberland's and Georgetown. But overall, since the last time we sat down, where do you think your team is at this point?
At this point, we're in a really good spot. If you told me at the beginning of the year we were going to be in first place halfway through conference play, I've been very pleased, especially with just the youth of our team. I knew that we had a good team, but wasn't really sure exactly how quickly some of those guys would mature and respond to some of the level of competition in league play. But we responded well. We've shown that we're a team that's really together and pretty tough. So excited about where we're at, but long road ahead. We're just halfway there.
All right. Well, you went to Kentucky last week, took on University of the Cumberlands on Thursday night, and that win capped off what was at that time a 13-game winning streak. You won there by 5 against a decent-looking Cumberland's team. We watched a lot of that online. At the time, they were receiving votes. What was the key to come away with that win?
Well, I'll say this first. In my opinion, they're probably the most talented team, have the most talented roster in the Mid-South. I mean, they've got 10 guys that are really, really good players. When they get it all clicking and figured out, which they did at times during our game, I mean, they're one of the elite teams in the conference.
I think at that one time we were up 17, and then all of a sudden it dwindled down
to 0.
To 0.
And
that's one of those things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
They found a way to put it all together.
They did. They're really good. They got a transfer from Union College who's a big 6'9" physical post player. He's only played a handful of games, but they're one of those teams that come the end of the year, they're definitely going to be competing for a conference championship, especially in conference tournament. They're going to be really dangerous. But we just defended. We played hard. We defended. Even though there in the second half we had a little slippage, some calls didn't go our way. Really liked our resiliency. We big disparity in foul calls, especially in the second half.
And some of that tends to happen on the road.
It does.
It tends to happen on the road. No matter what level you're playing at, it tends to happen.
Yeah, and you just got to stay the course, and that's what we talked to our guys about in that game, is just one play at a time, one play at a time, one play at a time. And they did fight back and get all the way back in the game and tied it up with 2 or 3 minutes left. But even though things weren't going our way, really liked how our point guards, J.J. Wheat, made some really good plays late in that game with a couple key steals. So we just did what we did and found a way to win the game.
Well, then after that, you went into Georgetown. They were ranked at the time number 15. I know this week's poll came out. We'll talk about that later. But you ranked number 19 going in there. Unfortunately, that game wasn't available on video for us due to their break. But you end up losing that game by 2, 80-78.
Great game.
Were you pleased with your team's performance overall? I mean, I'm like you. I don't like to lose.
Sure.
But is there something you can take from that game
as
we move forward in the season?
A lot to learn from that game. I mean, Georgetown, as a lot of people know, has been kind of, I guess, a staple in Mid-South basketball and national, from a national scale. Coach Briggs there has won a couple national championships while he's been there. Always has a phenomenal team, super athletic, super long, a lot of ability, can beat you inside, can beat you outside. I mean, they are a top 10 team in the nation, no doubt. I know the polls came out and they weren't in top 10, but they're a team that can compete for a national championship this year without a doubt. Again, road games, period, are difficult, especially when you're playing a team that's a top 10 to top 15 team on the road, and it was a great battle. They got up at one point, I think, 11 in the second half. We had some uncharacteristic turnovers. They did a good job of speeding us up at times, and I think they turned us over 14 times, which was a big key in the game. And that's credit to them. They're long and athletic and did a good job with that. But again, thought we responded really well, fought all the way back, got a lead by 1 there the last 2-3 minutes of the game, and it was just back and forth. It was a game where I think almost 20 lead changes in the game. So
is that a game that really gives you a good gauge of where we are for the season right now, as far as going into the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing about Mid-South play is every team on that schedule can beat you. Georgetown's really talented. Cumberland, Kentucky's really talented. Thomas Moore's been extremely successsul. But all these other teams that aren't those teams, they're really good too. So I think every game really gives you a good gauge of where your team is at the moment. Because if you're not there mentally, physically, fully engaged in the game, you're going to get beat. So we're taking this thing one
and I like that. I like that approach of the one game at a time. As you go into the game, you've got no wins, no losses. That's a great approach. We mentioned rankings, and I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. If you want to know more about the rankings process and even where the Lions are, I'll tell you they're ranked number 8 in the country right now. But if you want to learn more about how that ranking process works, then you become a member of the Director's Circle, because after every show we do an extended cut for our Director's Circle members, and that's one of the questions that we're going to discuss in that particular segment of our First Bank Coaches Show. So, Coach Stutts, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back with the second segment as we look forward to the games we have going on this coming week and even into next week. So stay tuned right here on the First Bank Coaches Show on the Lion Digital Network.
At First Bank, we tell our customers to bank local and get more. But everyone's more is different. Is yours more adventure? More space? More education? Or work that's more you? We always say bank local, get more. More product range, more accessible bankers, and a whole lot less standing in your way. Whatever your more, you can now get more excited, because we got this.
Welcome back into the First Bank Coaches Show. Ray Pack and Coach Drew Stutts here. Well, Coach, we've got games beginning tomorrow night here on campus, tomorrow night and Saturday. We flip now and we move into the second half, really, of conference season. The 2 games that we're playing this week are 2 of the teams that we played early in the season. First off, let's talk a little bit about Lindsey Wilson. They come in back on December the 3rd. That was a tough game. You mentioned the road game, 62-60, a win. And I looked at the conference standings. Lindsey Wilson 2-9 in conference play, but
2-9 in conference play. They just got done playing Thomas More their last game. They were up 2 at the half against Thomas More. They were up 7 at the half against us. If you really look through their schedule carefully, almost every single game that they've lost, they've been in that game. A couple games got away from them, but very talented team, very physical team. They got 1-star player in Elijah Jordan, 6'4" guard, who, I think he's shooting 50% from 3 right now.
Let's see where he's at.
Averaging around 15 a game.
Overall 54.7, and yes, 50% from field goal. He's averaging 15.7 points per game. He's their team leader.
Oh, absolutely. He's Division I transfer, and he's Division I player, and really good. He could go play at a lot of places, but he's their best player. And Coach Starks does a great job. They've got a deep bench. They play 10, 12 guys every game. But very physical team, and a team that's going to come in here and compete hard and give us a run for our money for sure.
Well, I meant to mention this earlier, but we're coming out of the fall semester. We're moving into our spring semester. Typically, teams in the NAIA will pick players up over the break.
Sure.
You mentioned before we went on the air here that Lindsey Wilson picked one up.
Sure.
And he's played in 2 games. He's already averaging almost 10 a game.
Right. And you can do that. I mean, we were talking before we got on air. I'm kind of a one game at a time type thing. So they do have a new player averaging 10 a game in 2 games, can really stretch the floor, shoot the ball, but you just got to be prepared and play your game and not get too worried about the opponent in some way.
So for Lindsey Wilson, that game is tomorrow night, 7:30 start, I do believe. The women will play at 5:30, the doubleheader. But let's kind of move forward to Campbellsville. I know you focus one at a time, but in all fairness, we need to talk a little bit about Campbellsville.
Sure.
They come in on Saturday for a 3 o'clock start. You went up to Campbellsville back on December the 1st, came away with a 62-58 win. Again, here's another team in Mid-South play. They're 2-9 in Mid-South play again.
Sure. So 2-9 in Mid-South play, and I think they got 3 Division I transfers that they start. So they're a team that, great battle at their place, back and forth. Hunter Skurlock hits a big 3 late in that game to give us a lead. But, again, super talented team. I mean, anybody that shows up on Saturday will see the athletic ability and their potential. And on any given night, they could beat anybody in the league, absolutely.
So we've mentioned this and talked about it before, but Campbellsville looks like, as far as the scoring, is a balanced team. They've got 3 players averaging, right at 11 points a game. So that tells you they're going to spread it around. How do you focus on 3 players that you need to work on shutting down versus 1 player like Lindsey Wilson?
Yeah,
making somebody else beat you.
Really, a lot doesn't change for us. We have a decent defensive system that we run, and obviously knowing personnel and what people are best at, whether it be shooting or driving or strong hand right, strong hand left, just basic things in the game that you adjust to. But we're going to do what we do, and really not going to adjust a whole lot for others. You'll make some minor in-game adjustments, but we got a system. This is the 4th year we've been running it. Each year we've been getting a little bit better at it, and it's one of the strengths of our team. So, whether they got 3 or 4 guys or they got 1 guy, you just do what you do.
Well, I mean, we talked about UT Southern, and they had 4 guys averaging, and so you went over there and got a victory there. Then you're going to hit the road next week, next Thursday night, a week from tomorrow. You travel up to Shawnee State. Here was a 1-point win. Mm-hmm. So again, you look at that, and every game I've looked at that we've played, there hasn't been but 1 or 2 games that have been more than a 5 or 6 point spread.
Absolutely. No, we've done good about finishing games, and just playing within ourselves, not having hero ball where somebody's trying to make an individual play, but continuing to just play our style late in games.
So if you get into a late game situation, what is the key to finishing that game?
It probably depends on your opponent and who you're playing, but I think the biggest key is just making the right play. It's not about making an individual play or really keying on getting a certain person the ball for us. We've got 7 guys right now averaging between 9 and 11 points a game. We're averaging 84 a game. So, any of those guys we feel confident in taking a last-second shot. It's really just continuing to do what you do all the time and not changing.
And I was going to ask you, you don't have any one particular player that you feel is above everybody else. And I see that you feel comfortable with a number of different people.
Sure, we do.
And you make the adjustment. If it's an out-of-bounds play, you see what they're denying, and then you make that adjustment to, okay, we may not get option 1, but what's option 2 or option 3?
Sure.
And option 2 and option 3 are oftentimes as good as and maybe better
Yeah.
than option number one.
Yeah, you just make the right play. You know, we play a lot in practice, and a lot of that's just building team chemistry and trust. And you know, you just play the game and make the right play. I mean, we say that often. You know, just make the right play, make the right play. A lot of times people try to force things, and the key is to not force. Just let the game come to you and take what the defense gives you.
Well, I've been impressed so far, and I'm sure a lot of our fans have. This team has gelled well. They have come together. They truly play team basketball.
They do.
It's when they try to go out and be the one-on-one or try to overdo what they're capable of is when we see struggles oftentimes.
Sure.
But I haven't seen that too much on this team this year. Maybe an occasion where one gets a little bit out of control, but seems like some way, somehow you get him calmed down and get him back in the system, and that's a big benefit. So you go to Shawnee State, and then you go to Pikeville, another one of those long bus rides in the Mid-South. That may be, is that the furthest trip?
It is. Pikeville, Shawnee, both are pretty lengthy, so you're looking at 7 or 8 hours on the road.
And then Wilberforce is in that same.
It'll be the first time we've been to Wilberforce, but I know it's a long trip as well.
So, okay, but Pikeville, a 20-point win here at home, but again, like you say, it is the Mid-South, and you don't necessarily know what the second semester of a season is going to look like until you see that film.
Sure.
So, well, appreciate you taking your time this afternoon and putting this program together. And we're looking forward to the game tomorrow night against Lindsey Wilson, and then Saturday against Campbellsville. We wish you the best of luck, and I know you'll have your teams ready. I'm Ray Pack, he's Drew Stutts, and this has been the First Bank Coaches Show on the Lion Digital Network.